Zach LaVine has once again been talked about heavily around the league when it comes to being traded to the Los Angeles Lakers. And this time, we're going to get a perspective from Lakers fans, the media, and just how they're feeling about the whole situation. I'm your host, Joey Mercer. This is another episode of Bulls Digest. And before we get into it there today, I just want to say thank you to everyone who has subscribed to the channel and helped us along the way, as we're almost there at our goal of 1,000 subscribers by Christmas. It means a lot to us that you guys have gone down below and hit the subscribe button, liked and commented on all the videos. And we love hearing from you guys, knowing that you like the content, and we'd like to know that you subscribe and you follow us here on the journey. That means a whole lot to us here. I can't thank you enough personally from myself and everyone here at Bulls Digest. And without further ado, we're going to let you know, just before we get into it, that 92% of you that do watch these videos are not subscribed. So if you aren't already subscribed to the channel and you want to see this come up every single day without having to search for it, why not go down below, hit the subscribe button, turn on the bell for notifications, and you will no longer have to search for this content. It will come right to you through your notifications. And every single day we're uploading here, so lots of content to cover on the Chicago Bulls, which we all know and love. Now, the topic today, of course, is the Lakers' perspective on LaVine. So, this is interesting because we've heard a lot of people saying that LaVine is going to be traded to the Lakers. It makes the most sense. It seems like it's going to happen. But we have not exactly heard from the Lakers themselves. It's been kind of swept under the rug if a deal like this is actually going to happen. It's been a whole lot of speculation or just things coming throughout the Bulls or media there, or us reporting it here at Bulls Digest. But now we're getting a little bit of an insight on the Lakers end of things. How did their fan base feel? How does the media on the Lakers side feel? And how does the team themselves feel? Well, I actually came across an article on SB Nation through the Silver Pick and Roll talking about the Los Angeles Lakers, and this is from more of a article based on just the Lakers, but it featured heavily with Zach LaVine, so I want to see a different take on it today and talk through that. So the article titled, Report, Lakers feel they'd be doing the Bulls a favor with LaVine trade. The Lakers and Bulls have been leading the rumor mill regarding a Zach LaVine trade, but recent reports suggest the Lakers feel they'd be helping Chicago more than themselves with a move. And that's an interesting way to really word it and really come out with it. Like, yes, you have to take some losses when it comes to getting a bigger guy, but they feel like there's more negatives than positives, and I don't really think that's the case. I think the biggest situation now where fans and everybody over there thinks that LaVine isn't the player that he is because he's been out so many games now and we've been so good while he's out. Another big victory over the Lakers, funny enough, last night without LaVine, which is not what you want to see when you're trying to trade a star player, that the team is performing so much better without him in the lineup. Next thing I saw was, it's been no secret the Lakers are interested in several Chicago Bulls players, and with one of those players being All-Star Zach LaVine, a combination of his star power, roots in Southern California, and his relationship with Clutch Sports has only increased that excitement and speculation. However, according to Jovan Buha of The Athletic, the Lakers feel a Zach LaVine trade helps Chicago more than benefits LA. For LaVine specifically, I think the Lakers would consider a D'Angelo Russell-centric deal, but I don't think they'd throw him much more than a combination of salary filler in Rui Hachimura and or Gabe Vincent, a young prospect in Max Christie or Jalen Hood-Schifino, and a protected pick in 2029 or 2030 in the first round. The Lakers would fight to keep Hachimura and Christie, to be clear, but I see that offer on the high end of what they'd be willing to give up. Even so, I don't think they'd want to bid against themselves and would need another suitor to up their offer to more than a minimum package. They feel like they would be doing the Bulls a favor by clearing LaVine's salary off their books and kickstarting a rebuild if the Bulls ultimately go in that direction. Now, honestly, let's forget about a rebuild. The Bulls are playing great without LaVine in the lineup, so anybody that we could get in exchange on the Lakers wouldn't necessarily be a rebuild. It could just be another guy to go in and be a retool. This team could still be destined for a playoff spot if they continue to play on the pace that they are, as they're really close to a play-in right now, and it's still early in the season as things are just changing for them as they went on a big losing skid and have picked things up ever since Zach LaVine is out. So it's really nice to see that the team is playing that way. And I do think that the trade is not very good when it comes to the Bulls getting value back for Zach LaVine there. I mean, you're looking at D'Angelo Russell, who's playing really poor for the Lakers as of late. He had 2 points last night. Not really a whole lot going on for him. However, he has shown flashes of being a near all-star caliber player in the past. So I will give him that credit. But it's not like D'Angelo Russell is some kind of fantastic winning basketball player either. He has more playoff success and more playoff games than Zach LaVine, but he's never been the guy on a playoff team except for the Nets when he played solid in the postseason for them. But still, they didn't ultimately do anything in the playoffs, not even making it out of the first round that year. And I do realize, I believe they were like the 6th or 7th seed that season. So you can't blame them for the seeding and who they went up against. But there's still no real, there's no example of D'Angelo Russell being that much better as a winning basketball player than Zach LaVine. And Zach LaVine's a former 2-time All-Star, so the value goes in his favor there, when D'Angelo Russell isn't exactly a phenomenal defender and is just a bit below average. When we look at the other pieces in, I understand the Rui Hachimura and Gabe Vincent piece is just for salary filler, and that's really what it is. Gabe Vincent's barely played. When he has played, he hasn't been very good at all. One of the worst shooters in the league this year, as he seemed to be more suited off the dribble as opposed to off the catch and shoot, which is why I don't think he'd play so good in the limited time he has alongside LeBron James, because it's just not his role to be a catch and shoot guy. He needs to create shots himself off the dribble, and that's just the type of player that he is. Now, when we look at Rui Hachimura, solid player, I'd be interested in him. I don't really know exactly what the one thing that he does really well is. He's almost a jack of all trades, master of none, but could definitely be a little bit of a project in the situation of, I understand he's not incredibly young, he's also not old, but he could fit in a different system better than how he's fitting right now in the Lakers, which is really up and down and hard for him to stay in the rotation consistently. He's been from starting lineup to not playing to off the bench to 6th man. He's been pretty well everywhere for the Lakers since being traded from the Washington Wizards. However, them wanting to hold on to him is a little bit strange. I guess they would want to try something with him, but I don't know if he'd be a guy that I'd not want to let go of under any circumstances. Similar to Max Christie, I mean, I've gotten a lot of flack in the past talking about Max Christie's defense. He's a fine defender. He is a solid defender. He just isn't, a top caliber defensive player. It's probably his best attribute is on the defensive end of things. It's just, obviously we look into a little bit more of just how other players are shooting. Players can be on slumps. If you looked at Donovan Mitchell when I talked about them in the past, you could actually see the next game against, now albeit against the Raptors, who do have some really good defensive players out there like OG, he still shot really bad. It was actually one shot worse. He was like 4 of 17 when he played the Lakers. Then he played the Raptors. He was like 4 of 18. He was just on a big slump, and he's been on a bit of a slump as of late in that matter. So it wasn't just the fact of Max Christie. And when we look at Austin Reeves in that game too, he guarded him a lot of possessions. He was like 3 of 11 on him. So Reeves did an awesome job as well. It's just a player in a slump, so we don't want to take that one game sample and say Christie's a phenomenal defender because he stopped Donovan Mitchell at the end of the game. It's a great defensive play overall. He's just above average. He isn't phenomenal. It wouldn't be a player that I'd want too much on the Bulls. He's an okay project. I think I would be more interested in Jalen Hood-Schifino. The unknown with him and the untapped potential, I'd like to call it, is a little bit more exciting for me. And when it comes to the first, I think the reason that they want those protected is LeBron's probably not going to be around, or certainly not the player he is when it comes to 2029, 2030. I don't want to doubt LeBron James, but I mean, we're talking 5-6 years in the future here, and he's going to be 43, 44 years old, 45 even. I mean, you can't really expect that to happen. Nobody's done it. I could see him still playing in the league because he doesn't seem to be slowing down. But him putting up the numbers for them to be a championship contender with him as the best player, or even second best, probably very unlikely at that point in time. However, if he'd even take a role like that in the Lakers is also unknown. Now, when we get into the next part of this article, it says, it's been reported that the Lakers will take a patient approach this trade season. This was the Lakers' method last year as well, waiting to trade Russell Westbrook away until late to get the best deal possible. That patience was rewarded with a multitude of quality rotation players that helped turn the season around and put the Lakers back into contention. And that's true. I mean, they got Vanderbilt, a very, very solid defensive player, one of the best defensive players in the league, in my opinion. Really limited on the offensive end. He's starting to develop a little bit of a jumper, but he is so good on defense that you can take that little bit of hit offensively, similar to LaVine. So good on offense, you could take the hit defensively. They got so many pieces there from the Utah Jazz, and just, you know, in the mix of that three-team trade afterwards, it became, as Beverly, of course, went as well to the Jazz and then elsewhere. But it is nice to see that they are mentioning the fact that the Westbrook trade, they waited a little bit. Maybe that's the idea. The Lakers, I think, have to wait until January 15th anyways to make a trade. Now, if they're going to get to LaVine before another team does is another question, but it brings high hopes here for me that LaVine is going to be dealt before the February deadline, which is nice to see, because I think it's sooner rather than later for value on him, because if we wait too long, we're not going to get anything at all, and that's not what you want to see here. And signing him to another contract extension, if it were to even wait out that long, is probably not the best of ideas right now. The next thing and the last thing I saw in this article was, sometimes the best activity is inactivity. The Lakers shouldn't give everything away for a player who's talented but flawed, especially on the defensive side of the ball. Also, the move has to make sense and improve the Lakers' chances of winning a title. If you give too much of what works away, i.e. the Westbrook trade, any benefit you get with a player gets nerfed by what was lost. Trades are a balancing act where both parties must come away happy with what they're getting to strike a deal. Rob Pelinka has had his hits and misses in this department during his Lakers tenure, but this might be the most important one yet, as a wrong move could end LeBron James' championship window in LA, but the right one will put them one step closer to Banner 18. And that's true, they do need to make the right decision. However, I really do think that the Lakers community in that sense, or the media at the very least, is selling Zach LaVine short, because that deal is just not enough value in return for us. When it looks at the sense that they're adding Rui for salary cap filler, I mean, nobody mentioned that trade as a former All-Star. D'Lo's the closest thing out of any of those guys who's even been close to an All-Star, and obviously he has never made an All-Star team. And then we look at, you know, everybody else that's in that trade. I mean, Jalen Hood-Schifino, Max Christie, and you're only getting one of each of those guys, like Rui Hachimura, Gabe Vincent, and then the pick is going to be so heavily protected, in my opinion, if that's what they're talking about, that it's not going to even be in the lottery. So I don't know if that's enough value for Zach LaVine. They should hold out and try to get a little bit more than that, as I think it's definitely possible on the table, but it depends on how long this sits around with LaVine on the team, because they should take whatever deal comes their way that is of the best value for them at the time by the February deadline. This has been your host, Joey Mercer. I can't wait to see you all in the next one. Thank you, everybody, once again for subscribing to the channel. We're about 35 subscribers away from hitting 1,000 here, so very close there. And I hope if you aren't already subscribed, you can subscribe and join us on this journey, as we will continue to make videos well past 1,000 and see where we can go in the future with this. But for sure, we're going to keep reporting on the Chicago Bulls until the unforeseeable future, and I can't wait to see you guys in the next one.